The published materials category refers to publications about you and not by you as an author. So they need to be mostly about you and your work, and it cannot just be mentioning you or quoting you in passing, right?
Yeah, and they have to be in major media. So
Yeah.
that's the trick, well, one of the tricks. So in terms of major media, there's no rule necessarily, but I think a good spot to be is about 700,000, at least 700,000 views a month. Obviously, if you are from a country, a smaller country, that the number could change, maybe 100,000, maybe 50,000 if it's really a small country. But if it's like, especially in the if it's media from the United States, we look at least 700,000.
Yeah, so the views are one way.
Yeah.
Are there other ways, like for example, let's say there's a list of like the top newspapers in the country. It doesn't matter, right? Like what's the views, but
yeah. So if you have the stats for your countries, like the top 10 media outlets or newspapers, we can use that as well. And sometimes also the media kit from the actual publication, that also works.
Okay. What are all the details? There are many details just to make sure like something will match. So we talked about the media outlet, how relevant the outlet is, and the article being mostly about you. Are there any other things?
Right. So yes. So USCIS requires that the article has an author. This has been an issue in the last few years because a lot of the magazines, a lot of the newspapers, media outlets, when they publish things, they don't put an author. They put like editorial desk or editor or something like that. And they have their reasons for doing that. They just want to keep everything consistent, especially if the article is written by 3 journalists or 2 journalists and an editor. They don't want to put all of their names. They just put like editorial desk. Unfortunately, USCIS will not accept that. So we have to have an author. It has to have a date, and it has to have a title. So these are some of the requirements that it's a must-have. If you have an article in, let's say, a huge media outlet, or a newspaper, but there's no author, we can't use it.
What do you do if there's no author? Like what can you do?
Well, there are a couple things. You can contact the media outlet and ask them to actually put the journalist who wrote the article, even if there are 2 journalists, it doesn't matter. Or if they say no, you can ask for a letter from the media outlet or from the journalist confirming that they're the ones that actually wrote that article. I've done it a couple times. It has worked. It's not ideal, but it's really sad if you have really good article about you from, I don't know, New York Times or Washington Post, and there's no author. So those are some of the recommendations that we have.
What happens when it's not major media, but it's maybe a professional publication, like from your industry, like a reputable, important trade publication, but probably it's not considered major media?
In those cases, usually we refer to the media kit. They all have one nowadays, because they use them for their advertisers. The media kit, maybe some, information online about them. Sometimes they have recognition, and sometimes a letter from the actual publication explaining, who they are, what they do, how many people they have, in there as members or followers. That could also work.
Got it. What happens with radio, TV, and other sort of media?
It's the same thing. It has to be major, major media, major TV, major channel, major radio channel. It's a little bit more work there in terms of, if it's an interview, how do you show that to USCIS, right? So, and to show them that it's about you, you cannot send an external, hard drive to USCIS to listen to your interview. So what you have to do in that case is you have to transcribe it. So basically tell them what the video is about, and sometimes it's like word for word, your interview. and then include a screenshot of you appearing on the camera, basically. If it's not in English, let's say your interview is in Spanish or some other language, the transcription is in the original language, let's say it's Spanish, then that transcription is translated into English, a certified translation, and then we attach the screenshot for that. And that should do it, but it still needs to be a major TV channel or major radio channel.
Yeah, and we said that these publications need to be about you and your work. Can you talk a bit more about the topics and how much should they focus on you, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable?
Yeah, so you need to make sure that the publication is really about you. At least most of the publication about you and your work. It heavily needs to highlight your work, maybe day to day, what you do, your products, your methods. The things that you shouldn't include there is, your career, your journey to the United States, or anything personal that is not relevant to the EB-1 or to the O1. The other thing is you should make sure that you're the only one on that publication. Maybe two people were interviewed, because if it's a lot of, sometimes what they do is journalists, they talk to 5 people and then they feature all these 5 people, and we submit that to USCIS, and then they come back and say, well, that's not about you. They're like all 4 other people in there. So that's usually not gonna work. Also, if you're just quoted, that's very common. The media calls, and then you answer a few questions, and then they just say, oh yeah, so and so said whatever it is that you say, and then we can say that that's an article about you because you're just being quoted or you're being mentioned. It's great to have for final merits or other criterias, but not for this particular publication. And in terms of how long needs to be that publication, I would say at least at least 2-3 paragraphs, 4 paragraphs. If it's just 1 paragraph, USCIS will push back on that. It is just it's too short and it doesn't meet the criteria. So if you're trying to improve this criteria or add this criteria to your EB-1 criteria or O1 criteria, make sure that it is a legitimate publication and it's not something, or let's say it's Forbes, but then they publish in the last page, the lower a corner of the page. That's not gonna work.
Got it. What in terms of documentation that you need to show to claim this criteria?
So copy of the publication, or if it's a video interview, the transcription with the screenshot, and also information about the media, whether it's major media, how many views, the circulation, if it's in print. In terms of the views, we use websites like similarweb.com. I know that there are others as well. You can also use some information online about that publication, sometimes letter from them. It just depends on the publication itself and what information is available. But the most important is to show the views and the circulation.
And just to clarify, this is not just about US media, right? It can be international.
Yes, this is not, if you're published in Peru or, UK, it doesn't really matter. It is it doesn't have to be in the United States only.
Perfect. So this is everything for published materials. Remember, it needs to be about you and your work. It needs to be a trade publication or major media. It needs to have an author, a title, and a date. And if you don't have any of these elements, you might not be able to use that documentation.